Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Groton Committee of the Whole special meeting for Monday, February 13th, 2023. Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, President or Mayor Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Gadipo, Councilor Carter, Councilor McCabe, Councilor Piazza, Councilor Sheffield via Zoom, City Clerk Jacome, and Finance Director Uhas. Absent we have right now Councilor Norris.
Okay. And Councilor Norris sent a text, said he should be here around 6:30, so we'll see where that goes. All right, new business, Public Works Shore Avenue seawall replacement presentation. Heidi, could you come forward and, yeah. Oh, Heidi and Bill. Sorry, Bill, I didn't see you. Back there, my apologies. So both of you, you'll be sharing a microphone. So I wanted to bring, this is informing, I wanted to bring the council up to speed on where we are on the Shore Avenue seawall and what the schedule of events are and those kind of things. And with that, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Sorry, thank you. What you have in front of you right now is a presentation that we had put together for DEP when we were searching for grant funding for this project. So it'll kind of give you a little bit of an idea of the condition of the wall. I know we've talked about this a little bit, and I apologize, I'm not sure if we've spoke about this project in particular in front of this council. So we wanted to be sure that you had a little bit of a background of what this project is. You also have in front of you a map. One of the reasons I had provided that map was just to kind of give you a little bit more of a visual of the limits. Oh, I'm sorry. The map is to give you a little bit more of a visual as to what the limits
Sorry to interrupt. Can you introduce yourself, and do you have any extras for people here who are interested in this?
Hold on. This is, all right, yeah, Heidi, introduce yourself.
Yep.
I don't know if we have any extras or not, but after the meeting, you can talk to Heidi and Bill, and we can get you something. This is.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you.
But this is a committee of the whole. It's a working meeting for the mayor and council.
Okay.
And so there's no involvement with the audience at large.
Thank you.
Okay, Heidi, go ahead and introduce yourself and then.
Sure, I
Please
apologize. So I'm Heidi Camo. I'm the Public Works Services Coordinator for the Public Works Department.
Yep, and I'm Bill Robarge, Director of Public Works.
So we provided that map really just to give you more of a visual that shows what the limits of the project actually are. I know that we've been talking about this project for quite some time. I want to give you the overview on how long this project has been going on. It'll kind of bring some of that into perspective. But I like to kind of get an idea from the visual perspective of what we're dealing with. And that was one of the reasons why we provided that map. We do have a whole set of plans that go along with this project. So at any time, if you feel that you want to take a look at that, we'll be happy to provide that for you. So I know that we came to the council, I believe, in the fall of 2022. We were awarded grant funding from the state DEP. But to kind of give you a little bit of an idea of where we've been with this project and where we're going, in 2014, the city identified that seawall as needing repairs. So we had gone out and contracted with an engineering firm at the time, not only to engineer the wall, but we had to go through the permitting process with DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers. So it really has taken 7 years to get through all of that. We do currently have the permits in place from DEEP and from the Army Corps of Engineers. The DEEP permit is good through June of 2025, and Army Corps of Engineers is the permit is good through November of 2026. So we have a little bit of time to get this project off the ground. We did receive funding, as I said, from DEP in November of 2022. There are some limitations that have been imposed on us by Army Corps of Engineers. First being that we cannot be in water from June 1st to September 30th. So one of the pieces of this project is there'll be an installation of what's called a coffer dam. Basically, they're going to create a barrier in that cove area so they can do the construction. So meaning that dam will have to be in place and will have to be out of that part of the water by June 1st in order to go forward with this project. So meaning that since we didn't get the funding until the middle of November, we just did not have the timing lined up this year in order to go out to bid, get a contractor in place, have them mobilized, get the dam in place, and be out of the water by June 1st. So unfortunately, what that means for all of this is, although we have the funding, we were awarded $2.7 million. We will not be starting construction until April of 2024. Anything to add?
Yeah, I can, just a couple of extras on that. So the wall is roughly 340 feet long. It has municipal stormwater drainage coming through it. Also, you know, when we looked at replacing the wall, and I believe it was identified back in 2014 when we were doing a road assessment, and we picked up that we're at risk for losing the road. Also embedded in the road are utilities from Groton Utilities. So we have sanitary sewer in there, and we have domestic water that feeds down throughout that whole neighborhood. So all of those add value in getting this done. Again, the wall's been up since very late 1800s. I think we put a facade on it. I saw some pictures that were like 1960 where we put a concrete facade on the front just to prevent washout from the soil and everything and leaching through the wall. But that, you know, Heidi made mention of most of the work that's included in it. You know, of importance, and I think you made mention, Congressman Joe Courtney and Senator Heather Summers were very instrumental in working with us and getting funding for that. Okay. Questions?
Okay, we'll open the floor to questions. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I happened to run into Heidi yesterday, and I appreciate getting these kind of updates because sometimes these projects, they do take a long time. We don't know where they're at. A few questions. So we have full funding for what we expect the project to cost,
Correct.
which doesn't necessarily mean full funding, but what we expect it to cost.
Yep.
And is there an expectation, so essentially it's been pushed a year from what we wanted it, or what the most recent idea was, right? So it's delayed a year.
Correct.
Have we assessed whether we think it's going to degrade enough additionally in that year that it will impact the plans that we've made, or do the plans still stand regardless of the extra year of, you know, water damage to the wall?
Would you like? I can take it if you want. No, I expect that where we're at is where we'll be in another year. You spoke about the proposed price, and I think it was $2,702,799, and that was inclusive of contingency back at that time.
Right.
So there is a buffer in there to cover a little bit of the cost, should it escalate, and I expect it probably will a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, so your expected start date is April 2024. Do we have, and I know obviously you can't know how long it's going to take, do we have like an estimate of how long the project is going to take when it will finish?
Am I correct? 3 to 4 months?
3 to 4 months.
Yeah, to complete. Yeah.
So by the end of summer.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, we're in a unique position with we're in a unique position with this particular project because of what's involved in terms of getting that Porter Dam or Coffer Dam, whatever you want to refer to it as, installed. So there could be some delays in this project in getting, because they're going to have to get that installed and then remobilize and start work on the wall itself. So, you know, hoping there are no delays on 3 to 4 months.
And then my last question is, have we, looking at the map here, are we going to be impacting the road traffic on Shore Avenue? So are we blocking off the road, or how is that, what's happening for those residents there when we do this work?
So the road will be terminated on either end of the project. We will be posting, there is a plan to post for detours on, I believe, at the intersection of Hillside, South Prospect and Circle, and then again at Tyler and Central down in that area. So there will be notifications, there will be signs up, but there will be no pass-through during the period of the project.
And if I'm thinking correctly when I'm down there, because I walk by there all the time, there aren't very many houses right where the work is going to be done, right? Or is there might just be the one, right?
Right.
That's going to be impacted?
Yep.
So are we going to speak with that resident specifically, because it's only one of them?
Right.
And just make sure that, you know, they're not impacted too much so they can get in and out of their driveway if that's going to be blocked or whatever. We have a plan for that?
Actually, their driveway is in the back of their house on South Prospect.
So we won't have any residents necessarily, other than normal pass-through, they'll just have to change their path, but
Yep.
we're not impacting anyone's home?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other counselors? Counselor Carter? Counselor Piazza? Well, Counselor Carter, you have the floor.
So the major reason why we're not doing the project now is because we don't have the you know, we don't have certain things in place to reach that mandate where we cannot have that dam from September 1st through, from April or June 1st through when? What are the months? Sorry.
So the Porter Dam has to be in place, and we need to be out of the water
Okay.
by June 1st.
By June 1st?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So that Porter Dam creates a barrier.
All right, so you're about, okay, so if next year we start in April, right, is that going to give us enough time to have that out of the water by June 1st of the next year?
So the Porter Dam can stay in place. We can't construct, they call it in water work, so we actually can't be in the water after June 1st.
Okay.
The Porter Dam gives us the ability to continue that work after June 1st, because we've essentially removed the in-water work.
Okay, gotcha.
So the Porter Dam, I guess, to make it clear, the Porter Dam has to be in place by June 1st.
All right, I thought you said out of the water by a certain time.
We have to be out of water.
Oh, out
I'm sorry.
of the water.
Yeah,
Okay, I thought
I'm
the
sorry.
dam can only be in at
Right.
a certain time, like gives you like a summer gap to, okay. So
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. All right.
So let me answer it also this way. So we'll have the Coffer Dam in place. So basically what it is, it's a metal wall, as sunk in, will pump out the water. So that'll be in place before June. And then, but if we start to work, so it'll be in place before June. So if we start to work, and if the work starts in April, that means the Coffer Dam's in place. And if it takes 4 months, that means August. But we can't take the Coffer Dam down until after 30 September, right? Because we can't be in the water between June and September, right? So the construction will be done, and there'll be a period of time, short period of time, that it'll be dry until the clock ticks and we meet the requirement, and then we can remove the cofferdam and have it, have the cofferdam removed. So a couple things, talk about what's in the road. Bill talked, or Director Robarge talked about utilities. There's a 5-inch gravity main that's in there. There's a 10-inch forced sewer main that comes from the pump station that's at Eastern Point that pumps through. And then there's a 10-inch potable water main that provides water for that area. So those are the concerns that we have. We want to make sure, because if that wall collapses, the wall is what's holding the road up. And if the road fails, then there's the potential that that forced main will pump, you could pump hundreds or more gallons of raw sewage in the Long Island Sound, and we don't want that, right? Because there's no valves in place that you can put in there because of the pump. So that's part of the issues that we have. Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask, since Deputy Mayor already asked one of my questions, is what effect does it have on emergency personnel accessing residents?
So I mean, obviously, there would be an impact. I mean, they would have to take the same routes that any other traffic. I mean, that area is going to be closed. I mean, there will be barriers. For a good portion of the project, that roadway will probably be open, and some portion of the roadway may not be there. So those are all conversations that we'll have. I mean, that's one of the things that we do before we even get started on a project. We have pre-construction meetings, and we try to get everybody in there to have conversations about, what are you, here's what we're proposing for a detour. What do you need to do, making sure that they know that they're going to have to find another way in. I don't know, I mean, obviously I'd leave that up to the professionals, what the impact is, but those are always conversations that we have.
I'm sure that you're doing that, so I'm just assuming then that all residents, they'll have access to all residents if they need to get to somebody.
Yeah.
Nobody will be totally black.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, you would either come in Shore Avenue from the Beach Pond Road area, or they would, or the other access is down Hillside, or what is it, Hillside Meach, North Prospect, in that way.
Well, and so you could come down Meach, and instead of going the Torture's Path with a truck, you could come straight down. And so everybody will have access.
Right.
We'll be able to get access one way or the other.
Right.
To
And
that.
there are no homes in the limits of this project, so.
Right. Okay. Councilor Sheffield, do you have your hand up?
Yes. Bill, what's the ramifications, I guess, kind of following up with Deputy Mayor Depot, the implications, I guess, for not being able to start construction till next year? Will that, I mean, would it something environmental takes place that will, further erosion of the seawall? Will that impact, cost potentially, for the construction by having to wait a year to get things started?
Thank you. That's a good question. So I spoke earlier about, the pump sanitary coming from the Eastern Point Beach pump station. So we're mindful of that. And that's really pushing the big part of the risk. That particular pipe is within 6 to 8 feet of the sidewalk where we looked at it. So we're really being mindful and timely to stay on top of that. Heidi spoke earlier about getting the cofferdam in place, and a lot of that is driven by environmental, right? So there's eel grasses down there that we can't impact the eels and the environment, right? So we have that window to get that in place and then back away from it and let them establish their normalcy back to that. But that's a big part of it. We're working really closely with Groton Utilities on that, to ensure that we don't disturb the sanitary discharge. Once we start to excavate, you only find out best then when you see right where you're at and how bad the pipe is. So that pipe's been in the earth for quite some time. It's AC pipe. So they're aware of that. They're going to be making sure that they have equipment readily available should they need to make a repair right at that same time. Again, working on that too. So, and then we'll have, like Heidi talked too about the safety plan. We always want to make sure that the fire trucks and emergency personnel can get around. If there's something going, that they need to actually get by there, we'll make sure that there's something in place to let them get by. And that's basically it. It's important to us, the residents, emergency personnel, and the safety of all. So, but I think we'll be good. I'm concerned a little bit with the pipes that are in the road, but I feel pretty confident in working with Groton Utilities on that piece.
Okay, one thing on the funding real quick. So the original amount was around $2.8 million. We have $2.7 million funding. Once we get the engineering firm in place, so we do the RFP, we get the engineering firm in place, and then they will do the research for the contractor, for the actual construction crew, and then that's where we will find out what the current cost is, and then any cost overrun, I'll be talking to the town of Groton to provide that funding. So I just want to make sure everybody knew. Councilor McCabe.
I just had one question. Somebody mentioned the facade. What is the wall going to look like? Is it just going to be just a plain concrete wall?
Yes.
Okay. No stamps or anything?
No, that was not built into the project.
All right, thank you.
May I clarify
Go ahead,
something?
please.
So I actually do want to clarify one thing. We do have engineered plans already for this project. So in just clarifying what you were talking about with engineers, so we actually do have engineered plans for the project. What we're going to be going out to bid for is construction admin and inspection, and then that firm will one, ensure that the plans that we have in place are appropriate, and then they'll help us vet, get out a bid package, and they'll help us vet any of the contractors that would potentially bid on this project. I'd also just want to point out that the last opinion of probable cost that we had, which is where we came up with that, approximately $2.7 million, was last updated in 2021. So there may be a little movement on what those costs are, but there was an opinion in 2021.
Do you have a Deputy Mayor Depot?
Sorry, I have one more question. Will people be able to, will it impact the golf course at all? Like the grass? So the other side of the street and the sidewalk on the opposite side of the street will still be passable by walking? Or will it be closed to construction? Or where's that line of where people will be able to walk? Because the golf course is right there.
Right. So I believe, and I apologize without having everything in front of me. So I believe that the sidewalk on the east side of the street, which is the golf course side of the street, I believe that terminates right at the last house that's there.
And then it picks back up all the way at the other end, right?
Right. So I don't know that it'll affect the golf course side.
So, but that grass, like people will be able to walk on that grass on the opposite side of the street?
It's pretty level.
Right.
It'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Yeah. They should be able to. I mean, obviously, there's going to be barriers, and then
Right.
there'll probably be silt fence along that grassy area. But there.
It's not going to impact the golf course at all?
No.
Thank you.
But, that's a great reminder. We'll make sure that we reach out to the golf course and let them know, to be aware of that. If they can have an astray, ball
I was
coming
going
down
to
the
say, please
bank.
don't hit the construction people with golf balls. It might be a good thing to maybe put up in the pro shop, just to let people know while it's happening. Just put a sign up so that
Great.
people are aware. So when they get down there, because everyone loves those couple of holes that you have to go down by the water.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Just so they're not shocked when they get down there and there's construction.
Great point.
Thank you.
It's a hazard they weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Councilor Carter?
This is just informational, correct?
This is informational
Nothing's
only.
coming out of this, it's just,
Nope.
yeah.
Just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of what's going on and where we're going. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, that's it. Thank you. Heidi, thank you. Okay, Bill, you can stay there.
I can.
So the next thing is Public Works sanitary containers.
Okay. Okay, next, so I'm here tonight to request the approval to purchase sanitary containers. Just a quick couple of points of history. Annually, we sell 112 60-gallon, 65-gallon blue recycling carts, about another 75 65-gallon green trash, and another 78 or so 95-gallon trash containers, right? So our inventory is getting low. I have $12,000 in the annual budget to fund them. I have received 2 proposals from the companies that we normally purchase them from. The first one is Otto, and the second one is the Toters. Personally, I prefer the Toters. I haven't had any problems with repairs to them. The feedback from the sanitation teams and the recycling teams are all positive on them. The Otto brand, I've had a couple of little breaks on them, especially in the hinges, where we open them to load them into the back of the truck. And there's also like a fuse seal across the bottom that we're mindful of that doesn't crack. But beside that, I have, again, the 2 prices came in. The low price is Toter. I got a price for 50 65-gallon green, 50 65-gallon blue, the recycling, and 70 95-gallon green. The price for the material for all the toters is $11,453.75, and that includes shipping. Just a quick note and I think in your package, there's a little spreadsheet here. Hopefully you all got that. So if you look to the right, second column from the end on the right, you'll see what we sell them for. So down on the bottom, you'll see the toter. The 65-gallon we sell for $79, and the 95-gallon we sell for $89. I did a quick check today, just at a local retail store. They sell a 65-gallon for $95, and they sell the 95-gallon for $125. So it's still a great bargain. As I stated earlier, we do a lot of sales for residents. If you were to ask me how many are out there, how many people utilize our toters, and we're kind of hoping that I could confidently say half, which is a really nice number. We take calls every day for them, and we get positive feedback. So tonight, I'm just asking for the approval for that. Again, it's excessive of $10,000. The cost is $11,453.75.
Okay, we'll open the floor for discussion. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just want to say that I have bought a set from the Public Works, and it is really convenient. You deliver them, and I just want to say thank you. I think this is a really good service. Aside from the fact that we've made it a little cheaper, it's also very convenient for the residents. And in my opinion, driving around town or the city, it makes it look kind of nicer when everyone's trash bins match. So I would just encourage people, if they have questions, just call Public Works on this. But I appreciate also the due diligence of checking the pricing, because it's hard, if you're not a person that goes to the hardware store all the time, to know what the normal cost is nowadays. And they are pricey. And I've had the ones that I bought, I think I bought them more than a year ago, and they're still in great condition. I don't have any problems with them. So that's all. Just wanted to point that out.
A quick note on safety, though, too, and that's really, really important. So when they purchase these toters, it also gives us the ability to use the semi-automatic tote lifter, right? So that's the big plug. It's great on the team. It's easier on their backs. And, we have a lifting restriction for other barrels of 75 pounds. We don't weigh them when we pick them up, but these toters, when we're able to use the lift on a truck, it's much, much better for the team.
Councilor
Thank you.
Norris,
I just
the
wanted to
floor.
ask,
I'll-
these are not mandatory purchases that is used by the resident?
Absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Councilor Piazza.
Mayor? I too purchased, and I love it. So where was it that you priced it at, that they were higher?
A local retail store over in Waterford.
Oh, okay. And, I know I have seen them higher.
Yeah.
But, what was I going to say? I know when we were talking about these before, I know I had asked if there was any funds for those who could not afford them but would, and the answer at the time was no. Is there a possible way to set up something that people could donate so those who would prefer to get them but can't afford them? An outside fund package for, that companies do and the city does for other things that we could set it up?
I think that's a wonderful idea, and I'll look into that for you, for sure.
Okay.
We don't currently have anything in place like that. If somebody were to call up and wish to purchase one for a neighbor, absolutely.
Okay.
But I don't really have available funds for that right now.
Okay. And one last question. That's probably more for me.
Yeah.
Does it matter which way you place it that makes it easier for the team?
I place mine, so I live down on Eastern Point Road. I place mine with the handle out, so the guys come, they grab it, wheel it right around, and go from there.
That's what I said, but somebody
Yeah.
else said, no, because of this, and they roll right to the truck. I was like, no, so they can grab it. Okay, I just want to know what makes it easier.
Spinning
It's
and
not
twisting,
mandatory,
so-
but
yeah.
it makes it easier.
Yeah, not
Okay.
mandatory.
All right, you
It's
solved that.
much easier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, Ron?
We would also be requesting to waive the bid policy on this. It is over the $10,000, which is over the threshold for bidding. We did get quotes, and we would go with a preferred vendor. And again, these are being sold, so there is revenue coming back in, but I just wanted to put that out there, that it is over the $10,000 for the purchasing policy, so we will be requesting to waive the bid policy, that part.
Thanks,
Okay.
Ron.
So, Councilor Piazza?
Thank you. I just wanted to make one more comment. So along with how they look and how sturdy, but also, too, they don't fly down the street like all the rest of them do.
Yeah, that's right. Good point.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 2/20/23.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
okay. Fire department radios, Ted? Do a real quick introduction. I don't know that all the council knows you.
Good evening. My name is Edward Sargent. I'm the Deputy Chief for the City of Groton Fire Department. So I'm here tonight to talk about the fire radios that we're trying to purchase. A very brief history. The fire departments within, it's called the Groton Fire Alarm. There's 7 municipal fire departments, including City of Groton, and 2 ambulance companies. Last year, we made the decision to try to move to the state radio system. The state police started it about 20 years ago, and then a few years ago, the state made substantial upgrades to it and are now allowing municipalities to join the state system. Some of the advantages is you can communicate with any other department in the state that's on the system. And one of the biggest advantages is the state picks up the tab for the cost. So there's no cost like there is now. We have recurring costs to maintain the radio system. The state currently pays for all the costs for the system, for the upgrades to it. And talking to other departments in the state that utilize it, everyone is very positive about it. So it's a very expensive proposition. So last year we applied for a regional grant from the federal government. And the regional grant, the City of Groton is the lead agency for this particular grant. Part of the grant requirements is you have to, in a regional grant, one agency has to be they call it the lead agency. So last year we applied for the grant, and then late last year, we received the grant approval. So we went out to bid for the radios. The grant we received, the total grant for the region, sorry, let me look this up. So we received a grant of $813,526, but of that, 10% is a cost share. So we're going to receive $739,569, and then each agency within the grant has to provide a cost share. So there's 7 fire departments and 2 ambulance departments that participate in the grant. So for the city of Groton, our cost share will be $11,711. We went out to bid earlier this year to purchase the radios. We received 3 bids back, Motorola, Goosetown Communications, and Marcus Communications. Marcus Communication was the low bid at, sorry, no ahead of here. Marcus was the low bid at $794,408, and Motorola was the high bid at $1.136 million. So the Groton Fire Officers Association, all the chiefs for each department have reviewed the bids. We met again today, and tentatively we would like to go with Marcus as the low bidder. They meet all the requirements. And the state of Connecticut obviously owns the system, so we have to work with the state when we transition over to this system. I just have to get final vetting approval from the state of Connecticut. They've already received the bids, but just to get final approval before we really move forward.
Yeah, the state of Connecticut vetted these companies and the product that they were going to sell before they gave their authorization for you guys to continue to proceed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the city police have been on this system for about 2 years now. Groton Utilities just went on the system a few months ago.
Right.
Groton Town Police, Stonington Police are on the system now. Other fire departments are going on the system.
Okay. Questions from the council? Councilor McCabe?
Are any of our neighbors on the system, like Ledyard, New London?
As far as fire departments, no. Ledyard Police are on the system. A lot of the police departments are on. Ledyard Police, Groton Town Police, Stonington Police. From what I understand, and this isn't 100%, but is that Ledyard is looking to transition to the system. The one blocking thing for every department is the cost. The radios are fairly expensive to purchase, more expensive than the radios we have currently. But the radios we have currently and the system at Groton Fire Alarm at the town police station is in need of upgrade. So if we go to this system, the town will not have to do any upgrade. And
What's the lifespan of a radio? So
a portable radio is about 10 years. A mobile radio that's in the apparatus, probably longer, maybe 15 years. New London is not on the system. They're on it's a similar system that New London and Waterford built themselves. It's very expensive to maintain, and New London is in the process of trying to switch to the state system.
okay. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Depot?
Thank you, Mayor. So will the entire cost over the $11,711 that we have to spend be covered by the grant?
Yes, yes. So the grant will give us $739,000 and change
Okay.
as an agent, for the whole region. And yes, the city of Groton cost share is $11,000. There will be no more expense right now. I'm not saying down the road we might not need to purchase some additional portable radios, but certainly for the next year, this will get everyone on board, and we would have the funding for that.
And then
equipment
you
for that.
said that right now, all of our maintenance for the radio system is our cost, and the state, because the state we're connecting up to the state radio system, that they'll be assuming essentially some of the cost. Do you know about how much that cost is every year?
No, because the state system is, I don't know, honestly, no, I don't know. The state system literally covers the entire state of Connecticut.
No, but I mean
So,
our maintenance costs, like what?
for the new system,
Nope, so you said
Or
that we would be
currently.
saving money because it's currently our responsibility to maintain the radio
Yes.
system that we have, which now with the state radio system should save us some cost.
yeah, I don't
Is it
know the figure.
negligible,
And
or-
I don't know how the finances work as far as the dispatch center itself is at the town police station. The Groton City Fire Department, at least, out of our budget, we don't put money to the dispatch center.
Okay,
I honestly don't know if the city contributes to them or where, I guess that comes out of the town budget to maintain the radio system, but I don't know, have a cost breakdown.
okay, so this is the bid this is the preferred bid, but how many bids did we get?
3 bids,
We did get 3 bids.
yes.
Okay.
Motorola Solutions, Goosetown Communications.
Oh, yes, you said that, I'm sorry.
And Marcus
Okay,
Communications.
and then and you said this was the lowest.
Yes, so
bid.
the Motorola was $1,136,000 and change. Goosetown was $797,005, and Marcus was $794,408.
And then, but were the other bids the exact same products?
No, Marcus and Goosetown were the same products. E.F. Johnson Kedwin brand. Motorola Solutions was a Motorola product. When our bid went out, we didn't specify a specific specific make and model. We gave requirements we wanted in the radio. We weren't really hung up on who made the radio, what company. But honestly, there's only 3 companies currently that I'm aware of that make radios that are compatible with the state system. Harris, who the city police use right now, E.F. Johnson, and Motorola. We didn't receive any bids for Harris radios, so Marcus and Goosetown both bid the exact same equipment.
So this is not the same vendor that we used for the police department radios? Okay.
No, they did not bid. Communications Plus is who the city police used. They did not submit a bid.
Correct. When the city police went on it, they went on using the state bid.
Okay,
When they did it, and that was all through the town SIP.
okay. Thank you.
Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. So I know there seems to be a lot of upsides to these. Is there any downsides that you're
I think the
foreseeing?
one downside is we don't have as much local control of the radios as we do now. So for example, if we do purchase new radios in the future, you can't just buy them and turn them on. You have to the vendor has to contact the state of Connecticut to get permission to add that radio to their system, because they don't want someone getting on the system that should not be, essentially. So I guess that's one downside. We don't have as much local control. It's not quite as simple. It's just not saying it can't be done. It just takes a little bit longer. The vendor has to contact the state, say the serial number of these radios, we want it programmed, and then the state has to authorize that.
So from the time of purchase to actually fully running, up and running, what time are we looking at?
When we started all this, we were hoping November of '23 to be fully online. It'll probably take about 3 months to have the radios installed, because there's so many different pieces of fire apparatus. I think from the time we select the bidder, it'll probably be 6 months. And we all know that there's a lot of issues with supplies. So I don't know. I've been told that the radios will come in fairly quickly. But I would say probably about 6 months from the time we award the bid
Okay.
before we're on the system.
Are there warranties on these radios?
Yes, 3-year warranties on everything.
And one last question.
Sure.
Is there training necessary for each person using it?
Yes, there will be some training involved, and the vendor will supply. They're not going to have, I don't think, multiple training sessions. We have to try to accommodate the volunteers, so those might get trained in the evening. But representatives from each department will be trained by the vendor in the operation of the radios, and they'll in turn have to train their people.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. In that case, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 2/2023.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. All right. Sierra, you're up. This is a presentation of resilience planning and portfolio development update with a consultant's scope of services until June 2023.
You said just an update?
This is informing. So there's no action to be taken from this one.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Hope all is well. So I'll just dive in. As you guys know, last year we completed our community resiliency plan. That plan gave us a thorough assessment of our vulnerabilities and also a list of recommendations and tasks that the city should consider as we do more resiliency planning. We are currently reviewing all those recommendations and starting to develop a draft project portfolio of things that are ongoing and desired projects that city staff has. In the backdrop of that, we are also planning to do some more community engagement to really broaden our reach. So things where the departments can meet with community organizations and some of the research that is being done kind of locally to start to have more of a diverse conversation to come up with some solutions for some of the various different resiliency concerns or projects that we may be considering. To conduct those workshops and kind of help us leading up to that point, we would like to continue to work with SLR. They are on-call consultant service consultants for resiliency, and they have been working with us thus far in the creation of the plan and kind of leading up. So the funding for their additional fees are covered in our current fiscal budgets. It is contributions from both economic development and planning to come to a total of roughly over $18,000 to for them to provide services to us leading up to June. And then this packet that I gave you was kind of large, so in the back I just provided a couple of different articles of climate change events, things that we are keeping a track of, both from a kind of national overview, but then also giving you some information about the state and how they are moving forward with they already have established a climate resilience fund that will help fund projects and provide a match for competitive bids for federal funding. So the draft project portfolio is kind of leading up to that discussion with the Department of Deep Energy and Energy Environmental to really assess what projects we have in the city are working on and what is eligible for the funding that they do have and what they would consider a reasonable project to move for a federal competitive bid. The state is currently discussing the Climate Resiliency Fund in legislative session, so I wanted to provide that information for you. And also there is a little bit more information about the grant program in the back from the previous round of funding that they did for the Climate Resilience Fund. That was a mouthful in a short period of time. However.
Let me make sure something here. Now, we have funds already due. I don't need to get reapproval. I do? Okay, then Councilor Carter, I was incorrect. We are going to need, this is not just informing, we'll need a motion to move this to the next mayor and council meeting because so you have the funds available, you're asking for authorization to spend these funds on these efforts.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions from the council? Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just want to say, I know you said it's a big packet, but there's a lot of information in there that answered questions I would have asked you in the meeting. So I just want to say thank you for the layout of tasks has a lot of info in the cost sheet. I know the end number, the 18,000, sounds kind of large when you say it, but looking at the breakdown of expected work product from them, to me, those rates seem pretty reasonable for consultant rates. So I just want to say thank you for all your work and providing so much documentation on this, because this is really helpful when we're making decisions, and because then when someone asks me, where's that money going, I can pull up this little sheet and go, well, they're going to do this workshop and this workshop, so that's really helpful information, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Councilor McCabe, did I see your hand? Or no?
You did.
Okay.
What exactly does SLR, I mean, they're hosting meetings. Are they helping us determine when we want to go for a proposal? Do they help write a proposal to get the money based on the projects? I guess I'm trying to figure out.
So they provide more kind of staff services when it comes to coordinating all the different resilience topics that we can discuss and projects we can go into. They start to help us filter that out. And then within our workshops, we want to do brainstorming sessions. So we want to be able to work on actual things that city departments are working on or already researching. So they're providing that additional arm to do more research, to kind of understand what are some of the vulnerabilities that we want to address, how we're looking to address those through the type of infrastructure improvements we're considering, and then what are some alternatives.
So their expertise lies in resiliency planning.
Resiliency planning, and then they have divisions of engineering and a number of other services that they provide. So it's a very well-rounded organization.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Piazza, did you have, I thought I saw a hand.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Norris?
Yeah, sorry. So if I'm reading this front page that equals the 18,040, those are new tasks that we're paying them for?
So the 1845 the 18,000 breakdown is on the last page, is this page.
Okay, but I'm asking, is it new? Is it additional?
It's additional work from.
Okay. All right.
And this is a follow through from the community resiliency plan, and then the next steps that we needed to take.
Got it. So if I was to read through this, and for example, it says milestone, CLR will host climate resilient capacity building virtual meeting with departments. Do they know when?
We are working on organizing that now. We want to review the recommendations with each department because it affects each department a little bit differently. And we also want to update with our plan of conservation and development, because there's also tasks that are dedicated to this group within that. So we want to work internally to coordinate that, touch base with everybody, and then kind of continue that discussion.
So is it possible to keep us on track? Can you give us another layout that would say, based on the milestones, expected dates or completion dates with these things? So it'd be nice to see, on my wall, okay, this is going to happen by November, and then it has context to it.
Sure,
right?
Absolutely.
And then the last thing is, if you can remind our residents why we're doing this.
Why are we doing resiliency planning?
Yeah.
The city of Groton is surrounded on 3 sides by water. City of Groton owns a public utility that has facilities and different things that also need to be protected. We have a number of commercial and residential properties on our shorelines that may be affected by climate change and sea level rise. Looking at the just urban build of our community, we do see some heat island concerns. We do have a lot of asphalt in regards to parking and other things. So this discussion helps the community start to understand what are some of the concerns, what are some of the things that we want to address as a community, and then the conversations all in between to lead to the success of those projects.
Thank you.
Is that okay? You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 2/2023.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Sierra.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary, you're up. Okay, we will start with the Groton Public Schools food service license for Eastern Point Beach.
First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Borsowitz, my chairman of the Beach and Parks Committee. Did I say right?
Borsowitz, yeah.
He's with me tonight because some of these items have come as recommendations from the Beach and Parks Committee, and he's the chairman of the committee. All right, so the first item is the concession stand down at Eastern Point Beach. We did get our letter from Groton Public Schools Food Services they're saying that they want to come back this coming season. Through discussion after the season was over in 2022, the Beach and Parks Committee asked to see if they wanted to see the contract that we share, or that we sign off on with Groton Public Schools Food Services. And upon reviewing it, one of the so there's this kind of a two-parter. It's like Groton Public Schools wants to come back, but the Beach and Parks Committee would like to offer them a 3-year contract as opposed to a 1-year, where they have to come back every February. Some of the reasonings behind it gives continuity to the operations of the facility. It lets us know that we have somebody in there, 23, 24, 25. We're not worried about, what we're going to do next year or the year after. It gives some continuity to Groton Public Schools. They can plan accordingly in regards to what their needs would be, knowing that they have that entity for 3 years. So that's the first item I'm bringing to you all this evening.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
I know that we've had some discussion on whether or not we should go out to bid for the concession stand. I get a lot of feedback from residents about the concession stand, and I'm of two minds about it, because I think that it is our policy to go out to bid for things. However, I also think that it's semi-unfair to other vendors to go out to bid if we know we're going to say no to them. And I don't see myself approving a for-profit business over the public school program that's currently the concession. I'm just kind of getting my thoughts out on this because I know it's going to be a discussion amongst council, but I don't see myself approving a for-profit business that's going to, for example, maybe try to make a lot of money off of our beachgoers when we are happy with the current vendor, they keep the prices low, and it benefits our students. So that's kind of where my head is at with it. I think that it's a community service that we do. I would like to see either a profit and loss or some kind of financial information of, even if it's like last year income expense, like a simplified form. I don't know how they track that, but I think if personally, if I'm going to approve something like that for 3 years, I would be interested to see, some kind of overtime, his budget or expense or whatever, because I think if I'm correct, we're approving a rent that is lower, potentially approving a rent that is lower than we would rent it to someone else for.
Currently, we've gotten to the $1,500 mark, and that's what we're asking for rent.
Okay.
And we're also not waiving the fee, what was that fee that we used to waive? Ron, can you help me with that one?
Security deposit.
The security deposit. We used to waive the $1,500 security deposit. We're not doing that this year. We're not going to do that either.
Okay, so are we collecting the security deposit at the beginning of the season, checking it out, and then giving it back at the end of the season? Is that how that's going to operate then? Okay. I think my only request would be to either see a financial plan, or I'm not asking for like the nitty gritty of like every tiny expense, but like a general amount of money that it's going to cost him, like rents and all of that, his projected, income, expenses, that sort of thing, like a summary. I'm not trying to make him do like tons of hours of work to something additional.
I think he can. He was going to be here tonight, but unfortunately, a Board of Education meeting kind of trumped you guys.
Okay.
Yes. Do you need that to move forward? Am I bringing this back to you guys at the end of the next cow? How do you?
I don't think I need, no.
All right. So as long as you have it before next Monday.
That's fine with me.
Okay. Yeah, I can get that from Ernie.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilor McCabe.
If we sign a 3-year with no rate increase for them, are they not going to raise the prices of the food? Or, how are we assured that they're not going to?
Well, one of the objects and one of the goals of the concession stand is to keep it low priced.
Okay.
Pretty much what Deputy Mayor Depot has shared is, the collaboration of it being an entity within the community. Our schools help. It helps our students. All the students are in there in the culinary program. The money they raise, or the little profit they do get, goes back into the culinary school program, so the kids all benefit from it. So I don't foresee him raising his prices. I came up with the goal to get us to $1,500 for rent. When I first got here, it was $300. So my goal is to kind of let's get $300 a month, and they got us to $1,500. We do own all the equipment in that, but Ernie is Groton Public Schools Food Services do bring in what they need for supplies in regards, because they have kitchens to pull from, because the kitchens are closed during the summertime. So they have the chili and the soup pots that they can put in the warmers, and they have an extra refrigerator that they can reach in to get the salads and stuff out that are more and all the supplies for the fry-later and the grill are all on a different refrigerator, so there's no bumping into anybody, because I don't know if anybody's been in that space. It's quite tight. So. All
right. Well, I definitely appreciate the 3-year plan as opposed to coming back every year. I like that idea.
Yeah, one of the things that we discussed internally was, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to go upscale and therefore prices go up and go out and may try to get a restaurant or something like that to come in? Or are we trying to keep prices affordable and, what the beachgoers are used to, what they want? We took the price up to $1,500, which is what we talked about. And in the past, we'd always waived the security deposit. We decided in this particular case this year and for the future, we're not going to waive the $1,500. We'll have it set aside so that if something happens in the kitchen, then we have that. But at the end, if everything's fine, then we'll return it back to them. Okay. So, Councilor Norris.
Can you please explain the relationship? What I mean by that is, why is Groton Public Schools doing this? Is it a training ground? Is it just to keep their current staff employed for the year? And then who pays the $1,500 deposit? Is that coming from Groton Public Schools, or am I looking at a totally different business somewhere?
Okay, so the first thing I'll address is, back in 2017, we had a purveyor in there. We had somebody in there for 32, 33 years. Unfortunately, family member passed, and they couldn't continue to support operating it. So we took it out to bid in 2017. Very quick turnaround, and Groton Public Schools was the only entity that we got a bid from. We did reach out to several other places that had indicated that they wanted to run the concession stand once it became available, but didn't get anything from them. So we engaged in that relationship with the Groton Public Schools Food Services. And with that, we've learned that they have a culinary program, and so it helps them get the kids, how a restaurant operates from the behind the scenes, not just what, comes out of the kitchen. So it's been an ongoing partnership since 2017. What was the second part of your question? Sorry.
So where does the $1,500
the Groton Public Schools Food Services budget. Groton Public Schools Food Services does not fall under the umbrella of the Board of Ed. They're a self-supporting entity within the public school system. He gets grant monies, he funds it all, not all, but he doesn't come under technically the Board of Education budget.
So when you get a COI, Certificate of Insurance, where is it coming from? Is it coming from the school district?
I believe it comes from the district. That goes to his office. Sorry, Groton.
So it's still part of the Board of Ed.
Yeah.
And what it is I'm guessing without looking at, not knowing their financials, is most of the time you see a food service or the lunch program is set up as a special revenue fund, so it's not part of a general fund budget. So I'm assuming that's where that security deposit would come out of, but then the certificate would still be the Board of Ed, that's the entity, or the town of Groton is the entity.
Right, I'm trying to lead to something. So
Of course you are.
where does their sales go, their revenue? Is it a special revenue account within the school district, or does it go somewhere else?
I believe it's a special revenue within the school district.
All right, so the point I'm trying to get here is we have a school district that's providing a learning opportunity. Why are we charging them rent?
Rent's always been part of the equation when we've had somebody running that concession stand.
Okay.
And a lot of it has to do with, I don't know, $300 wouldn't have, when I arrived here in 2006, wouldn't have covered any expense of anything breaking down in that building, but I think the goal now is to try to see if we do have something that they break, or we have to replace it if it breaks.
Okay.
So it's a way to kind of get some revenue back for that space.
So
Then they also pay the utilities, which run about $600 a month, June, July, and August.
all right. So when you get this rent money or wherever, where does that go? Does Beach and Park have a separate special revenue account that this money goes to if something breaks you, or are you coming back to the general fund?
Currently now it goes into the general fund.
Thank you.
And all expenses related to that are in the general fund budget.
Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just wanted to make a comment. I understand what Councilor Norris is saying. My main concern with charging rent is not impacting taxpayers if something does break, because some of the equipment in there is expensive. So charging a few $100s rent per month does make sure that we're not, if something big breaks, that we're not being forced to kind of dip into taxpayer dollars to pay for those repairs, essentially. And I think it provides a good buffer. To me, it's being fiscally responsible. I think it's a small enough amount that it's sensible still.
Councilor Norris?
I would agree with that, but if the revenue is going to the general fund and then there's an expenditure, it's hitting the taxpayer. So is it, I don't know if the mechanism can be changed down the road or in here, but if that's the case, let's take that rent and that deposit, put it in that special revenue account, so if something happens, you're hitting that and not a general fund expenditure, which I'm assuming comes from taxes or somewhere else. That's the only mindset I was thinking.
Go ahead,
Right now, the concession stand is not self-sufficient. There's a small amount of rent, but the costs exceed that amount of rent. So even to put that money into a separate fund, in theory, if you were trying to make it a self-sufficient, that rent would have to increase.
So one of the things that we talked about was, what is the function of Parks and Rec? And one of the things that I'm trying to get to is that Parks and Rec is more self-sustainable than they have been. There's only one Park and Rec that I'm aware, I think you said, right? One that's in the state of Connecticut that is 100% self-sustaining. So Parks and Rec is one of the things that the municipalities give back to the residents. In this particular case, on the beach, we've looked at this and we've looked at, incrementally raising fees. We've looked at rents and those kind of things because the beach is not 100% self-supported. You gave me a number. Sorry, I didn't. Okay.
So right now, our expenses for the beach are $353,845 is what it costs. And we bring in $172,645. And that's included, the rent's included in that.
Right. So we are continuing to
So
work on
roughly
this.
50.
But one of the challenges would be, you could jack up fees, entry fees, but then what would that do? Would that impact people coming in? You get a revenue as long as the same number of people come in, but if you jack them up, depending on where those prices are, you may lose some people. So, is it going to produce revenue? Are you going to lose revenue based on increased prices? And then now with legislation that is currently being looked at this year, there's legislation on the table that you cannot charge non-residents more than 50% more than you're charging residents. That's one of the things that is currently being reviewed in legislation now. So that would potentially put a cap as well. So I am still looking at what we can do to recover more of our fees, like programs, like when we do bus trips and things like that. Those are all 100% covered. But the beach is not all our. Now, when we do our summer programs, those are. But the general operation of the park, we don't charge to come to the park, and there is a cost for maintaining that park. So it's all part and parcel. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay. I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting at 2/20/23.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion
Aye.
carries. Okay, thank you.
Opposed?
You oppose?
Yes.
Okay, so we have
Can I ask you a question?
one opposed. Councilor Carter?
I think maybe it's for Mary.
Well, hold on. Has it got to do with this? Because we just voted
Well,
on
it's
it.
got to do with everything. So are we moving?
Well,
Well, it's got to do, or I can ask you the
all
question.
right, if it's procedural,
Well,
then,
because I'm trying to figure out, I was under the assumption that all this had to move all together, but we're moving this separately?
One at a
That's my
time.
question.
we're moving each one, we typically move each one separate to move it to the mayor and council, and then at the mayor and council, it's a separate resolution.
Okay, you're, okay, all right. Okay, and then can I make a it's too late to make a comment?
You have the floor.
So, it's my belief, and and I've said this time and time again, that, based off of our residents, the youth in this community, and as far as what they're actually doing for us, because I think they're also providing a service for us. When they came in, there was no takers, correct? When we, in 2017, 2016, there was nobody else but these guys, correct?
Correct.
So, and I was on that council then, and to me, I looked at it as a blessing in disguise, especially for it to be a training ground, et cetera, and I think that what we have now, I think in Tool, possibly there is that discussion if you want, whatever you want to do with it down there as far as making money or not. I think that just as long as it's functioning properly and everybody's doing what they have to do down there, I think this is the best situation we have, particularly because it's our own kids, that are running the facility. So to me, it's a win-win situation. And to me, as long as everything's functioning time and time again, they could come back. And I do know, based off the people that run, and I can't speak for them, if there was something that broke down in there, it's not my belief that they are the people that kind of just turn the blind eye. I believe that they'd work with us as far as either repairing, replacing, or any of that, et cetera. So I'm all for it.
Okay, well, that's good, because it passed. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one, which is recreation user fees 2023.
Okay, so our user fees, usually do this one after Beach and Parks rules and regulations.
All right, then let's.
But no, I can do it.
It just happened to be listed here.
Yeah, no, it's.
We can do the rules and regulations first if you want, if that makes it easier.
No, because it's actually the rules and regulations, the only thing that is changing is the fees. So,
okay.
So we can go to that. So on user fees page, the second page has the increases that we're looking at, or recommendations of increases for our beach passes. Beach passes have not increased since 2018, so 5 years we've been at the same rate. One of the things that's been discussed in the past with the Beach and Parks Committee, and I believe maybe with some council meetings and/or some councilors, is a military discount for our community. So that was taken into account when we raised our fees. As you can see, we went from $20, so $15 for a city senior, we went up to $20, $32 to $40 for a taxpayer non-senior, additional pass for a second car from $22 to $30. The town senior went from $32 to $40. There was a lot of discussion with the Beach and Parks Committee about having a town or Groton non-senior rate, so we added that. So that's a $70. That went to $80. Then the non-city Groton, non-town or Groton senior would be $55, and then the non-resident, non-Groton person would be $100. Kind of rounded off to zeros or fives, because if I'm taking a $5 discount off, it's a better math for when we start selling the beach passes and we have that military discount and all that stuff. So, so that was the recommendation from the Beach and Parks in regards to the fees for this year for beach passes. We want to start with that one. We have other fees changes too,
Yes,
but you want to go through all of them?
Just go through the whole.
Okay.
The whole document, and then we'll open it to.
Okay, so then the next one is page 4, which is our playground rates, our summer playgrounds. So we've always had it's one price, and you can come for the 8 weeks whenever you want, and we didn't change that. A number of years ago, we tried to do a weekly fee. A weekly fee, it's a struggle to get parents to register their kids week to week. and have the proper information on site for us to have the kids there safely. So it was discussed with the Beach and Parks Committee to do 2 sessions, 2 4-week sessions, and came up with a price for that. So, you know, if you want to come the whole summer for a resident, it's $300. If your child is ages 6 to 14, if you want to come for half of it, it's $175 for the first session or $175 for the first 4 weeks or the last 4 weeks. And then our younger program's half day, so it's a little reduced price on that. So it's 100 and 100. So those were the 2 big changes in regards to, actually the only 2 changes in user fees.
Okay, we'll now open it up for discussion. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I think that town of Groton residents are going to be excited that they get their own rate. That's one of the complaints that I hear every year because people don't understand the city and town, and a lot of people do move from the city to the town and then don't understand why they can't use the beach. So I think that's a great idea. I also love the idea of making them all round numbers because it is easier for everyone, honestly, involved. Were you shooting for a certain percentage increase, or how did we decide? I know you're trying to round them to certain, round numbers, which again, I think is great. Was there like some kind of range you were looking for percentage-wise?
So I looked back at what we've done in the past, and it's usually been $2 to $3. And I'm like, $2 to $3, well, we haven't done it in 5 years. We want to add the military discount. So if we went up $2 and had a military discount, it'd be a lower rate. So we're trying to build in that. I was trying to build in that $5 plus a little bit of additional up the fee a little bit more than just the $5. So then we wouldn't stay the same. It rounded, and that helped when rounding it off to the zeros, because $8 and I still got $3, but I might lose $5 because they have a military discount. So that was kind of my logic in my head.
And then doing the, looking at the rate changes, do you have an idea of if our sales were the same as last year, what this increase would do overall percentage-wise to our income? I know it'd be hard to calculate because you'd have to do it for every category.
Correct, and I also wouldn't know, what I don't know is how the military discount's going to impact us. Living in the military community, I don't know where that impact will have on us.
Okay, and then I think I agree with you looking at, now that I worked at the Y for a little bit in the last year, and they also do summer camps, and I 100% agree that having a weekly rate is probably a bit of a hassle. And I know from experience there, a lot of people will do multiple weeks, but under the weekly rate, which kind of doesn't make any sense. It's kind of a hassle for everyone. So I think it's good to split it into 4-week sessions. So the only thing in red on my copy is the weekly rate, but did the other rates go up, or are the rates the same?
So we didn't have, so the thing that's added is the first session rate and second session rate of $175, because we didn't have those in the past. Those are new. So it knocks out the weekly rate of $50 a week.
Okay, so you're essentially, if people register for the whole summer, for example, for the full day, they're getting a $50 discount, well, city residents anyways, off doing it divided up.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's good.
Our ultimate goal is to have them just pay us the $300 and come whenever they want.
Well, so my last question was going to be, do we have them pay that all up front, or do we do like half at registration, half by a certain date, or how do we
We encourage them to pay it all up front. We do work with them if there is a hardship. We also work with Groton Human Services for individuals for scholarships. So we do have that available to parents or families who can't. But if somebody's really struggling, we'll say, okay, give us $100. We start registration in the middle of March. Give us $50 a week as long as you're paid by the time the program starts.
I had another question, it just left my head. But I think that's great. Oh, my last question was going to be, and I think I ask this every year, do we have full enrollment in these summer programs?
So we don't have a cap for our summer program. We haven't had to. And we've had upwards to 325 kids in our program.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It sounds like a lot.
Well, they don't all, so it's kind of deceiving because that's how we have numbers, but they don't all come, certain days, field trips, like when we go to lake compounds, we have, more than, we almost have 200 kids that go to lake compounds with us. I take 6 school buses up to lake compounds. So, it all depends on the week. Some families take vacation during the 4th of July week, so we don't have as many kids, but we have never had to turn anybody away.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Norris?
Couple of things. Why do you have ranges in your cost recovery? Like, I'm looking at Eastern Point Beach, it reflects a cost recovery of 25 to 50%, and even with playground, 50 to 75%. Like, the reason why I ask is who determines if you're closer to the 50 versus closer to the 75?
Okay, so I'm like, it took me a minute. So in the Eastern Point Beach, both of these I'll share with you were percentages that were put in place prior to my arrival, and I've just kind of kept them there. I have never looked at them. Maybe it's something the Beach and Parks Committee should look at moving forward when we look at user fees. It was always the thought and the philosophy of the department that, especially for the kids programs, we don't have to get it so high that we're turning kids away. Our adult programs are all 100%, and the beach has been, 50 to 70, nope, 25 to 50. It would be nice to get that to 50 to 75. So, but those are things that we can look at in the future with the Beach and Parks Committee and bring back to you.
No, I was just asking in terms of how you decide it's going to be 55 versus 70, that kind of stuff. And then the other question is, here's a budget procedural question. So, if you're during the budget process, if you tell us a dollar figure for your revenue, let's say at Beach and Parks, and that actual number is less, is there a reduction in estimated expenditures for that year, or do you get what I'm asking?
I get what you're asking.
So if you, because with the $5 thing here, if you're less $2,500, is it okay? Don't worry about it, or is it, well, reduce your expenditures $2,500?
So I know, and Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, my revenue is calculated into my budget when I present it to them. I have an estimate of my income, which offsets the dollar amount technically that is charged to the taxpayer. Yes?
So when we prepare when you see the budget for the Parks and Rec, you'll see on the funding source page, there is the estimated revenues that come in from beach sales, recreation programs, summer programs, and then the portion that is funded by taxes, essentially. If a number is missed from a budget standpoint as far as the revenue goes, the expenditures aren't affected. It would just, in theory, move to a different, it would go to towards the taxes, or vice versa. If the revenues are over, it doesn't increase the expenditures either. So it works in both directions.
Thank you.
Councilor Carter?
I was going to say, you've actually had that happen over the last couple of years. One with the school closing down, correct? And then with the numbers with COVID, we had a couple summers where there's just a small amount of playground kids in programs that they just couldn't run, so we've actually already been through that, what Councilor Norris is stating, just to add. And I also want to just mention before we vote is that our programs are lower than any town around here. That's a fact.
That's true.
In the programs and summer rec, you actually have many out-of-towners that Pfizer employees, EB employees that drop their kids off to our programs prior to them going to work because of the fees are low and it's convenient. So it's also free free breakfast, free lunch, and fees are low, so.
And
throw that out
that
there.
is supplied by the school system, which is also run by
Groton Public Schools.
Groton Public School. Any other questions or comments, Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. So is there, I don't remember if there's, so if you had 4 children, is it less for each child, or no? It's the same?
It's the same.
Okay. But I know they can get help through Groton Human Services.
Correct.
And you're talking about the military discount, what would that be? What's the percentage on that? There will be a military discount?
For the beach, yes, $5.
$5, okay, just in case anybody asked me. And I did notice that this past summer that cars were going in when they go to the beach and dropping off. Is that due to price of busing, bringing them over when we used to, or is that it's just better for you all getting the kids in and out, or?
A little bit of both. It did become, so Christine's talking about my summer playground kids. I used to bus them from Washington Park to Eastern Point Beach on beach days. So now I just have them dropped off at the beach, like it's their site for the day, because we do take them, we take a group each day, so Tuesday through Friday. So yes, it got a little expensive to, when we left from Washington Park, 3 buses and 2 from West Side when West Side was here, so 5 buses going down to the beach on Thursday, dropping the kids off. So we tried to find a way to be a little bit more economical. And, the beach isn't, it's not like the beach is not in the city, so we did have a bus when we had we had a lot of walkers that came to West Side when we had that site. So we had a bus that picked up those walkers and brought them to the beach. But they've all seemed to be able, the last 3 years since we've done the 3 different groups, they've all managed to find their way to the beach for their location. So it kind of works out nicely. Okay. And it alleviates the expense for the bus. It alleviates the backup in the parking lot with the buses lining up, waiting for all the kids to get on them. So we do have a nice setup in the morning for them to drop off, and we have a very well way of getting them out where they don't even go all the way into the beach. They kind of go behind the Z house and pull in and get their kids and head on out. So there's not an influx of traffic in the parking lot. So
it keeps me from brooming the sand out of the bus.
Anything else? All right, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 2/20/23.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Okay, Eastern Point Beach rules and regulations.
Okay, so the big part of this is we've already just done with user fees. I'm not sure, let's see. There was one on page 4, number 13. Is that highlighted on your guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was one change with that. We have people coming with awful large 20 by 20, 20 by 40 stake in the ground screens that then the stakes are like way out here and they're becoming a trip hazard. So we've brought this back to the small, we've taken the big tents and the screens off the beach part. Doesn't mean they can't be elsewhere on the, in front of the Z house in that area, somewhere where they could still see the beach and the view, but they're not on the sand because they tend to blow, they tend to get loose, they take up a lot of space, they have trip hazards. So we've moved it back to just the small children cabanas, making sure they're not in front of the lifeguard chairs. But we're not telling them that, just in the sandy areas. If there's other areas of the beach that we can accommodate, we'll allow that. So that was one of the recommendations that came, and changes of that. I believe the only other change is on the last page where we used to have feeding ducks. We've changed ducks to wildlife because it's not just the ducks they feed you, it's the seagulls and the geese and everything else. So one thing that was discussed at the Beach and Parks Committee in regards to hours, and we chose not to put it into the rules and regulations, is that they did look at, and from an operational standpoint, we are looking to open the beach Memorial Day weekend and the 2 following weekends, first 2 weekends, first and second weekend in June. We didn't want to put in the rules and regulations because it's going to be weather dependent. I'm not going to bring staff in if it's going to call for thunderstorms, I'm not going to open the beach and bring staff in. But those 7 days, those additional 7 days, we are going to staff the beach 9 to 5, have the bathrooms open, beach supervisors, gate personnel. So we will make that known once the beach pass sale advertisement goes out that a pass will be required come Labor Day weekend. It's more they felt it from an operational standpoint, it was easier to do it that way than to put it into the rules and regulations, because we put it there, it might get confusing because it's not going to be Monday through Friday, it's just going to be the Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then the Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. So we are addressing that issue too.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
I like the idea of opening a Memorial Day weekend, weather dependent.
Yeah.
That's another thing that everyone always asks about. Also, I tell as many people as possible, stop feeding the darn seagulls. Someone just complained on one of the Facebook forums about the seagulls attacking them, and the reason that happens is because people are feeding them. So then they attack other people to try to get food. So please stop feeding the wildlife. The other thing I was going to say, I just wanted to say, because I have been to the beach last year when people had those big cabanas, and I think that's very reasonable. I have watched one fly away and like almost hit someone. Are we equipping? I know you're going to get complaints about that because people do like them. They are convenient. It is nice to be able to set up your own cabana, but it is a trip hazard too when they anchor them. My only input would be to make sure that all of our staff know the reasoning why, so when someone complains, they can go, I'm really sorry, but last year they created a tripping hazard and a liability because they were, possibly causing injury and whatever, so that at least when they're getting complaints from people, all of our staff are equipped to say, this is the reason why. I'm sorry, but it's just for the safety of all of the guests. And because I think that's very sensible, and any reasonable person, I think, can see why that makes sense to do. So I think that's a good idea, because I witnessed that be a hazard more than once last year at the beach. And I think that might be all my questions. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. I know that on the forum, too, that there was a lot of complaints about the wash-up of seaweed and so forth and so on, and it went on and on and on. So is it the paid personnel that rake there, or do you have a group of volunteers there? And is that something that could be looked at? I mean, because that's what somebody said, well, you're so coming. But I thought, why not develop a group of volunteers who are very interested in the beach appearances to come help rake? And I don't know what that liability would be, but I mean, it's a large task.
Well, we rake the beach 3 days a week. My staff comes in at 5 o'clock in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and as needed. I mean, if a storm rolls in, obviously we're going to get that. We have our own equipment. I would err on the side of caution with getting volunteers in there because of the nature of it's not as easy as it looks.
No.
And we wouldn't want somebody to get hurt on the property doing something that we could, that we kind of try to, what we do on our own. We only do it during this, well, we start early. We start the first week of June, but we'll just do it June through the last week, the Friday of September, Labor Day weekend. So that Monday's Labor Day, that Friday, and we'll stop. We only do it, like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If it's something that we have to reevaluate and look at doing it daily, we could. I don't anticipate bringing them in on a Saturday and Sunday. And I mean, it's overtime, so it's time and a half right off the bat on those 3 days. A Saturday would be time and a half, but Sunday would be double time. So we'd have to look at the impact that would have on the budget. But once we get going during the season, it seems that we seem to stay ahead of it, unless a storm comes through, which Mother Nature is Mother Nature. So, and if we know we have that and we can anticipate bringing staff in to do that, we would do it. We invested in that surf rake at least 10 years ago, and it's been a definite benefit to the beach. We used to get it cleaned twice a year. Now we do it 3 times a week. So.
So, yeah, I appreciate it. It's just something I read, and I was like, I didn't know if you had like a group.
The hard part is too, is I have no control over high tide and low tide, so if we come in and it's low tide and we groom the beach, and then the tide comes in and it's high tide at 11, but then it's shifting out by 3, whatever's come up, I can't get to it because there's people on the beach.
Right,
So.
right. I get it.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
I remembered the question that I forgot before. This really has to do with rates, but rates are also on this thing. So we created a new category with Town of Groton residents. But under our daily rates, we have from 5 to 8 p.m., it's half-price parking for non-residents and free for city residents. So where does the Town of Groton residents fall under non-resident for that?
Well, they're still considered a non-resident.
I just wanted to confirm,
Yep.
just because we added that category in, and I never thought of that before,
Yep.
so. Okay, so they count as a non-resident.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you.
Because their beach pass, even though it's less, it's less than it's a town resident and a ledgered person's going to have the same color beach pass. Okay. It's just going to cost different.
Perfect, thank you.
And, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mayor, when you said you bring in staff to rake the beach, are you talking beach staff or your full-time crew?
Sorry, my full-time crew.
So you have a union issue if you...
Correct, that too. Yep, sorry. Yep. One thing I know the mayor kind of touched upon it, is that we are looking at rules, user fees right now, but there is a bill in the state legislation that is looking at potentially not allowing us to charge more than double. So, if we have to make that adjustment, we're kind of there a little bit. So we'll have to see where that, I believe there's a public hearing on that this Friday. So we'll have to keep our eye on where that goes. So. But we're one of the better communities in regards to our differential between resident and non. So.
Any other questions or comments on this? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 2/20/23.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay, Memorial. Thank you.
Before he
Thank you, Bill, for coming out.
Before he comes?
Yep.
I just wanted to make a comment, Bill. Thank you very much for serving on Beach and Parks Committee. I just wanted to point out that Beach and Parks meets once a month, and they have input on what we do at our Beach and Parks. Do you have any vacancies on your committee or upcoming? Okay, I just figured I'd check in, but also just want to say I know you've been on the committee for several years, so thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Memorial Bench.
Okay, so we got a request back in December from a gentleman who wanted to put a bench at the beach. And unfortunately, I did have a conversation with him. He sent his request. He actually called us. We told him no. Then he sent an email to the mayor. The mayor sent it to me. I talked to the gentleman, and we've agreed upon a location at Grizzle Point, the backside of the 17th hole on Shore Avenue. The big thing is he wanted to be able to see Ledge Lake Lighthouse. And so giving him that location, we do have a bench that's vacant. It doesn't have a plaque on it. It does need some, we were going to refurbish it for him. And so he was in favor of that location once it was discussed with him. So it was brought to the Beach and Parks Committee, and their recommendation is bring forth to let him have a memorial bench in that location.
Any questions from the council or comments? Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, I love the program that we have for the benches. Is that our last available spot at Griswold Point?
I'd have to look. I believe I might have room for 1 or 2 more. I think I have 3 down there right now.
And then I know our plans for Thames View Park are kind of pending, like it's kind of still in process, but are we going to put memorial benches there as well, or no?
We can put them there. We've also encouraged people, we have benches at the park here, right, too, at Washington Park that, we encourage people, if they want one there, they can also put one there. We might get somebody who's, grew up playing ball at Washington Park, and it'd be a nice place to put a bench. Are we Getting to where we're limited, where some space, absolutely. So that's why we've started the paver part of the memorial program that resolution we have is for trees, benches, and stone, like a walkway around the flagpole. So we've started working with getting some pavers in memory of people with their information on it, and we're going to start to build that around the flagpole at some point once we get enough stones or pavers.
And I just want to comment, I know, we've had, I don't think this topic has come up since we had like the big storm that knocked some of the benches all over. And I just want to thank you and your staff because I have a bench at the beach, and it is nice that it is where it belongs when you go to the beach. And I know that our weather has sometimes impacted that. And it seems like a minor thing, but if you go to the beach and your bench is strewn over in memory of your loved one, it's kind of upsetting. So I appreciate that they make sure that the benches are taken care of and in their place. And it's like I said, it's a great program, so thank you.
You're welcome. We have a nice map for that. I had to put a map.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. So who is this bench in memory of? Do we have that information?
It's right there, right?
I'm sorry?
Lorraine
Oh, I'm
Jambor.
sorry. I pulled my wrong packet.
Oh.
That's why,
Here.
sorry. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments on this motion? Okay, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 2/20/23.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay, and then lastly, contract with New England Recreation Group, bleacher replacement.
Yes, so I've had money's budgeted for a number of years to start replacing the bleachers at Washington Park. They're all kind of rusting out underneath. They're need to be replaced. This set of bleachers is, there's a learning curve here for me because I didn't realize bleachers, you had to go through your building department. There's building code requirements for bleachers, so that's kind of why it's taken me a little bit longer than I expected to get at least one set. I was thinking one set. It's going to be two to replace the ones on Field 2, the Little League field. I went with New England Recreation Group because they were on the state bid, and they were one of the few. They were the only group that came out and looked at what we had and what we needed replaced. So I got a quote from them through the state contract for $38,161.40. They're handicapped. They'll have handicapped accessibility. Yeah, that's the building code part. So they'll. I don't know if you're familiar with where the field is on what Field 2 is, the Little League field. So they'll be pushed back a little bit from the fence because there's cutouts for wheelchair accessible seating areas on the bleachers, and then they'll all be enclosed on the outs around the tops and the edges so that nobody falls off of them. And they're going to be blue. I got to pick a color, so I picked blue.
Okay, anything else? All right. Comments from the council? Deputy Mayor Depot.
I do like the blue because it'll match our park signs. You know, it'll be kind of, it'll look nice with the signs that we have up there. The documentation we got is, I have page 2 of 2, and it says that 38,000 is for option 2.
Yeah.
But we don't have documentation for option 1. Can you just summarize the difference between option 1 and option 2?
Sure. My bad. 'Cause I got so option 1 was actually for 3 sets of bleachers, everything the same except for there would be 3 sets of 5 rows across. It's a little bigger than the area that we have there now, and it was for $51,192. I didn't budget that much. I've only budgeted. I am over $161.40 based on what the capital budget is, but I had a conversation with the finance director, and we can find $161.40. So the big difference was because of the cost.
And then, I don't know if I'm missing it on here, but do we have an expected date of when they're gonna start this work, how long it's gonna take, when it's gonna be done by?
I have a rough idea because I needed to get this approved before, but right now we are looking at March 20th for a new installation.
Okay, so it'll be done before this
Correct.
coming summer.
He knows that April is open, like mid-April is opening day of Little League, so they're very much aware of that. So we're going to do the demo. We'll take the permit out. I wanted to demo beforehand, but the building official asked me to do it all at once, demo and install all in one permit. So as soon as I know this has been ordered, we'll get the demo, we'll get all those permits in place and take care of what's there, so it's ready to go for the install.
Okay, so our goal is to have it done by opening day.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And we're also going to you have a concrete pad, right?
There's going to be, well,
There's going to be
concrete
Right.
straps or strips, and that where the bases of the bleachers are.
So we are going to have to clean this up a little bit, because if you go down there, it's kind of rough. And also, we're going with 2 of them because we're not going as high. So that's that. Councilor Norris.
Good job in getting bleachers that quick.
Well, that's what he tells me. Well, fingers crossed.
So where is this budgeted? Is it in your annual operating?
It's in the CIP.
It's in the CIP.
And it was, I actually budgeted it probably 4 years ago. So it's, when I budgeted, I didn't realize all the steps. I wasn't aware of the building code part. So that's why it's kind of taken me a little bit.
All right, thank you.
And Councilor Piazza.
Is there a capacity for how many people can sit on the bleachers, and do we ever meet that capacity?
We haven't.
Okay.
No.
What's the capacity for the bleachers?
So the seating capacity is 48 plus 2 ADA per bleacher.
Okay.
So we'll have 4 ADA spots, and we can accommodate, I was going to say 100 people, but that's 96.
96. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, I'll take a motion to move this to mayor and council meeting of 2/20/23.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is donations. The first one is Children First Groton. They're asking for $1,000. And we verified for this and for the ARC that Groton Utilities has not already donated. One of the things that we try to do is to make sure that we're not double dipping. So they have asked. And Ron, where are we with our numbers?
So we currently have not done any donations for 2023 to date.
Okay.
With Children's First, just because I know the question's going to come up, we have donated to them in the past. From 2017, 18, 19, we donated 1,000. 2020, it was reduced to 450, and then 21 and 22 was 1,000.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the council? Okay. Hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 2/20/23.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay, the next one is for the ARC. It's also for $1,000. Now, their headquarters is out of Norwich, but there is an ARC facility here in the city of Groton over by Sacred Heart. So do you have we donated to them in the past? Do you remember?
We have not donated them through this fund.
Okay.
I don't know if Groton Utilities has in the past or a separate mechanism, but just looking at this fund and this going through this policy, they have not been donated to.
Right. Okay. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just want to say that I have actually spoken to a resident who has a family member that uses the ARC services, and they are a great organization, and they serve a lot of members of our community in a capacity that it's kind of lacking in other places. There's not a lot of places that serve the community that they serve. So I am glad that they applied because I think it's a good cause, and especially because we haven't donated to them before. So I'm just happy that they're going to use this mechanism to provide some funding. And like I said, I do know at least one city resident who uses their services. So I think it's good cause.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 2/2023.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. The last is, this is informing. This is Groton City and Groton Utilities financials. Ron?
Okay, I'll keep this fairly quick. I know we haven't talked about them in a little while, but this does get us through the first half of the fiscal year through December 31st of 2022. If you go through the one line, the first one that you'll see, and kind of what we judge here is anything that's below 50%, you may want to, kind of looks at it, perk our interest because we're running above budget potentially. First one, citizens participation, you'll see that there's only 7.67% left. That's due to City Day, which is a one-time event, so that's why that is below. So there's nothing remaining there that will be spent for City Day. The other one that is a little bit below right now, police is at 47.21%. Not bad, but it is a little bit under that 50%. There was a capital purchase, and I will check with the chief to make sure that he is aware of where he's at and that he's tracking anything that may be above and beyond. But I believe it had to do with some one-time expenditures. The other one, Park and Rec, again, based on the timing of this Park and Rec season, they're at 42.78%. Most of their stuff happens at the beginning of the fiscal year, with some stuff trailing to the spring and fall of the new fiscal, or the fiscal year. The other one will be the general insurance, which is at 28.66% remaining, and that's based on the consultant's fees and everything that is paid in July. So it is a one-time expense at the beginning of the year, and then there's a couple of additional things that are quarterly payments, but very small. So that is why that is below the 100%. And then the debt service is just the timing of the debt payments, and that's at 56.27%. So at this point, there's nothing alarming as far as any particular department's budget.
Okay, any questions or comments on the city budget? Okay, moving on to utilities.
So if we turn to page 6 of the electric division, the total electric revenue to year to date is 28.4 million versus a budget of 26.4 million, or just roughly 2 million over budget. You'll see that's mainly driven by the industrial class. On the operating expenses, row 41, its actual to date is 30.5 million versus a budget of 27.8 million, or 2.6 million over budget. You'll see the driver there is based on the purchase power cost. That is obviously due to the increased revenue side, so more usage results in a higher power bill. So that is the offsetter. With the expense side, you'll see the operating and maintenance is below budget of about just under $1,916,000. That's due to the labor. A lot of capital work is being done, so it's not being run through the operating expense, as well as some IT expenses that are below budget, and admin and professional services. So the net income from operations year to date is 3 million versus a budget of 2.5 million, or 550,000 favorable.
Questions on electric? Councilor Norris?
So, can someone please remind me, if you did we change rates that went into effect recently?
The rate changes for electric are in April. However, we did institute another purchase power adjustment in January based on the projections, and that correct, and that 6-month review.
So do you know where in here we will be able to see an impact based on that? rate adjustment for January?
This through December, yep.
Take it back to me.
Okay. Any other question or comments on electric? Okay, move on.
So we'll go to the Water Division, page 12. Total water revenue is 6.4 million versus a budget of 6.2 million, or 235,000 favorable. And those variances are pretty much spread across all classes. Total operating expenses, row 30, is 5.9 million versus a budget of 5.9, or $40,000 favorable, so pretty much on target. You'll see that there's a little bit of, it's below budget as far as the operation and maintenance expenses. However, the depreciation is a little bit above, and that's due to the new treatment plant and the depreciation associated with that. Net income for water year-to-date is 185,000 versus a budget of negative 36, or 221,000 favorable.
Questions on water? Okay, sewer.
And then for sewer, we'll go to page 17. Row 15 is the total sewer revenue at 1.9 million versus a budget of 2 million, or 82,000 below budget. Again, the big driver there is the industrial and having to do with the deduct meters from one of our industrial customers. Total operating expenses are 1.6 million versus a budget of 1.8, or 222,000 below budget. Again, driven by the operation and maintenance, just some of the delays and some of the stuff that's being done there, and the IT budget is below budget, as long as the professional services and stuff like that. So it's just, and some of their stuff there is based on timing. Net income year-to-date in row 37 is 184,000 versus the budget of 30,000, or 155,000 favorable. Again, driven mainly by the below budget operation and maintenance and expenses.
Okay. Questions on the sewer? All right. So that does it for everything on the agenda, with the exception of executive session. So I'll take a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1-206D to discuss the purchase of real estate by the city.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. To include Director Gaudet and Mayor and City Council.
Do you want to make another motion?
We need another motion.
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay. Councilor Sheffield?
Yes.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to cancel Zoom. I'm going to call you. Are you good for me calling you on your home phone? Okay, let me verify the last four, 9058.
No, it's,
Oh, that's your mobile. You want me to call you on your mobile or your house phone?
yeah, on the mobile, yeah.
Call you on the mobile. Roger. We're going to end the stream. You're going to close out. I'm going to go to the restroom real quick, and then we'll come back and start